Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's our first BA professional for this semester. As always, my name is Francis Asuquo. I am a fourth year international Bachelor of Arts student, double majoring in political science and English, and I will be your host. In case you're new here and aren't quite sure what BA Professional is all about, BA Professional is a career conversation series organized by the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, where we speak to different alumni of the faculty and we get key info on how they were able to and how we can also forge our own unique career path. I am very pleased to welcome today our first guest for this semester, Megan Coles. Hi, Megan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Just a little rundown for those of us who don't know Megan. Megan Coles is from Savage Cove on Newfoundland's Great Northern Peninsula. She's a novelist, playwright, and poet. Megan is a graduate from Moore University of Newfoundland and Labrador, the National Theatre School of Canada, and the University of British Columbia as well. Megan is co-founder and artistic director of Poverty Cove Theatre Company, for whom she has written numerous award-winning plays. Her debut short fiction collection, Eating Habits of the Chronically Lonesome, won the BMO Winterset Award and the Margaret and John Savage First Book Award, and earned her the Writers' Trust of Canada 5x5 prize. Her debut novel, Small Game Hunting at the Local Coward Gun Club, was a finalist for the Scotiabank Giller Prize and a contender for CBC Canada Reads, and recently won the BMO Winterset Award as well. Megan currently lives here in St. John's, and she's executive director of Riddle Fence Publishing and a PhD student at Concordia University. Most recently, Megan served as a jury member for the 2021 Scotiabank Giller Prize. All right, that's a lot. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions, by the way?
Oh, not at all. I'm
For sure.
surprised you read my whole bio out, but it's not quite as painful.
Get to know who you are first, for sure. So the first question I would like to ask is if you could give us a quick rundown of what an average day looks for you, whether that be working with the Poverty Cove Theatre Company or the Riddle Fence Publishing. What would you do in a typical day?
Well, right now I am back to work part-time because I was on maternity leave up until this past month, the month that just
congratulations.
passed. Yes, thank you. I have a 8-month-old. My husband doesn't work in the winter, and so he cares for her until mid to late afternoon, and then we switch places. So I work until about 2 o'clock, and I am currently teaching at Memorial, so I take care of my playwriting course requirements, as well as being the writer in residence for the English department right now. And so I usually get that stuff off my correspondence in the earliest part of the morning, and then I write for a few hours, 2 or 3 hours, when I'm the clearest, or shall we say the best caffeinated version of myself.
For sure.
And then I return to admin work for Poverty Cove and probably some Riddle Fence correspondence. And so the days are really full. And in the evenings after my daughter sleeps, I either watch basketball with my husband or do PhD reading. And that's
for
kind
sure.
of typical.
Sounds like you've got a nice balance there, especially having a fun time with your new child there. I wanted to ask, was your current career path always the goal? Did you kind of go into your degree knowing what you wanted to do, get involved with writing and whatnot, or is that something you kind of found along the way?
I wanted to be a writer probably as young as 10 or 11, which is quite young. I didn't know how to go about it though, given that there are no professional artists in my family. So when I entered university, I was very much encouraged by my extended family and my parents to study science. So I did spend some time studying science initially, as well as English, but I hadn't really confessed to anyone that I had these career aspirations because my family being from rural, remote, northern Newfoundland, they're very working class background, and it was such a foreign notion that someone could make a go of it, as we say, as a writer, that I knew they were going to be distressed, honestly, about the whole undertaking. And so I guess it took me my first 2 years to kind of summon the courage to tell them that I had these creative inclinations. And I think that's almost, unfortunately, a common experience for a lot of people who want to pursue work in the arts. And so I urge emerging artists to try to be as honest with their family members as soon as possible, because these are difficult conversations that'll have to happen, and it's much better to be, I think, happier in your chosen career path than to be very unhappy doing something that your heart is not in.
All right, like, that is really unfortunate the way it's seen for people pursuing the arts specifically, but that's why we're having these talks right now, right? I also wanted to ask if there was any particular strategy that helped steer you in the direction you are currently going. Anything that stands out that you think was kind of a good gear to get you on the right path here?
I had a high school English teacher, which I think is another common experience for writers who recognized a kind of desire in me, but also there's something that you would, I suppose, consider raw talent, and encouraged me to pursue it. I was an avid reader, and I urge anybody who wants to have a career in writing or the arts or publishing to read as much as they can, as widely and broadly as they can, because it is not good enough just to read fiction or nonfiction. You have to read a mixture of all of the various different literary forms. I think, unfortunately, some people early on focus on the business side of becoming a writer rather than on the craft side of becoming a writer. And I think with any art practice, it is important in the early days to ensure that you're good for it, as in you've ensured that you've honed your skill set so that the work is good. Because the other stuff you can learn, but if you're not putting any time into your art practice or your craft, then even if you get a little step ahead, if the writing is weak, then it won't really move you forward in your career. You'll have like a stagnancy. So focus on making sure the work is as strong as it can be early on.
Kind of playing on what you've been saying, you mentioned reading and also focusing on your actual craft rather than the business aspect of things. So I'm just gonna kind of link our next question to that. Is there any other advice you would give to anyone who is particularly interested in possibly pursuing professional writing or poetry or anything of the sort?
Take time to learn your writing process. And so you have to kind of get to know yourself as a writer, when you write best under what conditions. And so I know that I write well in a private space, in my own home typically, or my family home that I have up on the Northern Peninsula, where I get a lot of work achieved. And I am my best writing self, not directly after I wake up, but say 2 hours after I wake up. And then I have really focused energy for about 4 to 5 hours. Don't set unachievable goals for yourself. Binge writing, while it can be really thrilling, is kind of an unsustainable practice and can be quite bad for your physical self, because you shouldn't be sitting for that long of a period of time. And so once you figure out how it is you're most productive, then try to set a disciplined regimen. And I know people have some very carefree notion of what an artist's life will be like, but it actually requires quite a bit of discipline because you are accountable to yourself and to the work. So you don't have direct supervision. And if you don't write, if there are no words on the page, then you have nothing to move forward with. So these are things that if you establish a good regime early on in your practice, then it'll be really easy for you to go to your notebook or your computer or whatever you write on. I know some people write on their phones now, and that's really quite important because if you don't show up, then it doesn't get done.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Kind of moving on to my next question, I wanted to ask if there was anything you think specifically you learned during your academic career. I know it's still ongoing as you're gunning towards a PhD, but anything that strikes out that you think you learned possibly during your BA that has kind of helped you till this day with both your work with your PhD as well, your work with professional writing, poetry, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think prior to going to Memorial, I had been tapped to learn by memorizing fact and regurgitating it. Possibly that's everyone's experience. I can only speak to my own high school, which is not really helpful. And then you reach post-secondary and you've not mastered how to read in a way that allows you to absorb the information or critically think about what it is you're absorbing. And so I think my undergrad, those early years of study, which are very general, really helped me understand that it is not just about recall. Like, recall is useful if you're trying to impress upon someone that you can retain dates and figures and things of this kind of material. But I think for an artistic undertaking, the ability to process like large concepts and kind of information that is overarching, like stuff that is felt like in a more holistic or global way, that'll benefit you more in the long run than being able to, I don't know, impress upon someone at a trivia game that this bomb was dropped at this time. Like, the motivation for the bomb dropping is something that I think would probably be more beneficial to a writer, the context of the event rather than the details of the event.
I think that is something that's definitely emphasized here at Memorial, critical reading and writing, not just taking in information, but also being to understand and explain and kind of apply that. One thing I wanted to ask, based on something you mentioned previously about your own family's fears around you going into writing, what advice would you have for people who might have those similar fears about how they could be successful pursuing their passion of writing and whatnot?
I'll speak directly to individuals who are unfortunately engaging with the student loan system. I myself had quite a lot of student debt when I graduated from my undergrad, and so I understand the pressure and anxiety that one can feel when you are starting your adult life already, we say, in the hole here in Newfoundland and Labrador. But yes, so when you're already indebted to a bank or a government or something like that. And so it may seem like the writing life or pursuing writing is not available or accessible to you. That's how I felt. And so my first instinct was to try to pay the loan down as fast as I could. So I moved to Asia, like a lot of people with BAs in the early 2000s, and taught English for a while. But while I was there, I realized that there are other ways you can find a workaround. And it was actually there that I applied to the National Theatre School to do the playwriting program. And so engaging with professional development opportunities that you can access while you're trying to repay your loans, if you're trapped in that cycle of repayment, will keep your critical thinking and your creative skill set sharp. And so you got to try to prioritize in whatever additional time, which I know is really minimal when you're working to meet your needs. Try to prioritize at least one creative professional development opportunity. So join a writing group, or ensure that you're in a workshop, something that keeps you actively engaged with the practice, so that you have deadlines and some kind of collective accountability. Like, people have this notion that writing is all solitude, and it is. There's a lot of self-motivation that has to happen, but why not give yourself tools for support? Like, why not build support into your network of contacts so that you have people that you can talk to about the things you're working on, or people who can give you advice on how to approach publishers or agents, or pursue granting opportunities. There's no reason why it is all or nothing. Like, try to have an even kind of perspective on how you go about achieving your goal as an artist. It's a slog. Like, it's not an overnight sensation. When I won the winter set, I would read these articles about myself as if I had come from nowhere and suddenly won this prize. But I had been like diligently writing at my desk for 10 years at that point. It was just, that's when the rest of the world found out I was a writer.
That's really great advice. You mentioned kind of focusing on professional and skill development. Are there any things you did possibly during your BA based on your time at Mon, maybe specific groups or even kind of writing workshops like you mentioned that you were aware of maybe in your time at Memorial that you could possibly suggest?
I wasn't really aware of the opportunities that were available to me while I was at Mon. Like, I went to Mon, I started my English degree in 1999. And so the campus was quite different, and as today, very, very science focused. And now we have like technology focus as well in there. And so I also sometimes feel regret that I hadn't done more to seek out opportunities, because they were there. I just didn't know anything about them, because I'm one of a first generation post-secondary student. So I'm one of the first members of my family, along with some of my cousins, that have ever gone to university. So we didn't have the knowledge to even navigate a university and to know who you could approach. But I did have an academic advisor named Jean Guthrie, and she was a professor in the English department, who was very encouraging of my work on every level, and would give me books. Like, when I had no money to buy books, Jean Guthrie would just give me books that she thought I would enjoy or benefit from. And this kind of, it only takes one person believing in you at the right time to kind of give you the little bit of extra determination. And so while I can't say that there was any specific program that I availed of that was something that helped me focus my dreams, there were people, there was I did have an academic advisor who was confident in me.
Could you possibly talk about your role as writer in residence, and how I know you yourself have some workshops coming up as well, and how you have fostered kind of a community of writing yourself?
I'm very community oriented, and I suppose to some degree I try to be the person that I needed at a time when I didn't know how to find
For sure.
that. And I suppose we're all trying to be that for other people. Like, we're trying to support our community in ways that can facilitate like really like thriving, healthy environments for everyone. And I'm offering workshops all throughout my residency. But there's a group of 16 people that submitted that have been accepted to the workshop. And it's from the beginning to the end, I think, of the fiction creation, publication, presentation process. And the idea is that I will lead these emerging writers from the conceptualizing of a new short fiction piece right through to the public reading of said piece, which we hope to have at the end of the semester, if COVID protocols allow us to have something in public. And I think we can create an environment that is economically and creatively robust here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Here in St. John specifically, I think we can have an arts and culture community that is even stronger than the one that we've been fortunate enough to benefit from, especially when it comes to writing, because you can write anywhere. Like, writing specifically does not require the kind of collaborative, the kind of mobility that other art professions sometimes need.
For sure, really being the change you'd wish to have when you were in that situation.
I'm all about putting my money where my mouth is. Yeah.
I love that. One thing I did want to ask though is there anything you wish you had known? As much as we talk about love for writing and whatnot, is there anything you wish you had known transitioning into the workforce specifically that you think might be helpful for not just others going into writing, but even as a whole for Bachelor of Arts students?
The grant writing process is really kind of discouraging. And the submission process to arts and culture journals can feel like a lot of rejection. And so much so that a lot of people give up because they assume that what the arts editors determine to be not appropriate for them is not appropriate for anyone. But every publication, just like every granting jury, is subjective. Like this behind these institutions, behind the Canada Council for the Arts, there are people, there are other artists making these decisions. So you have to keep trying, you have to be dogged, because the jury that you receive this round will not be the jury that you receive next round. The arts editor at Riddlefence is not the arts editor at Fiddlehead. And so you have to kind of, I'm not suggesting develop a thick skin, because no, feel your feelings. If you've turned your feelings off, then you're going to have a hard time being an artist in the world. Feel your feelings, kind of process the rejection and the discouragement in whatever healthy way you can, and then move on. Like, try again. And it is the difference between succeeding and failure, because you're not going to be a star the first time you get up on stage. Like, this takes time and practice and determination, like a lot of determination, but it's worth it. That's the other thing that I would really like to stress, is that if you're a writer and you're not writing, then you're going to be kind of a sad person. So if that's part of who you are, part of your core character, then you're going to find a way, and it'll make you genuinely more pleasant. I'm
Sure.
really catty when I don't get to my keyboard.
No worries. I'm not complaining. No worries. I wanted to ask, you did mention that writing itself definitely has a lot of initiative and kind of self-direction involved. What would you say, or how would you say collaboration has played a role in your career now?
Mhm. Well, I've been very fortunate to have a dramaturg. A dramaturg is like a um, editor or someone who provides feedback for a playwright. So I have had
Mhm.
a very beautiful relationship with my dramaturg, Emma Tabaldo. Since I met her, she was actually on the jury that selected me to get into the National Theater School, and then
Oh,
later became my dramaturg and one of my very close friends. And having someone like that in your corner um, with confidence in your ability, urging you to go on, can be really, really beneficial. I would say another relationship that I was fortunate to have is my initial publisher in Toronto, Sarah McLaughlin, who unfortunately has since retired, really believed in my work and understood what I was doing and took a lot of chances on me when I was about to, when I was considering writing a novel. There was no novel. She gave me the opportunity and the resources to write a novel, which very rarely happens that someone sight unseen says, I think you might be good at this. Would you like to try it? And so that was a fluke. Like I recognize that Sarah um, really gave me quite a large opportunity at the right time. And
mhm.
so um, these establishing these kinds of relationships with people who connect to your work early on will make it that much easier. I should also say that my best friend, uh, Lover Heart, has been my sounding board on everything I've written, the first reader of everything I've written, probably since I was um, 19 years old, and to this day is the person that I practice words in front of, and she's just an avid reader and the, I suppose, president of the MGC fan club. She's a social worker by trade, like she's not in the arts
Mhm.
professionally, but having just a relationship like that where someone is willing to give you their time and listen to your
Sure.
ideas on the floor in their living room with a glass of wine every night until you get this thing done can be really beneficial.
Definitely highlighting kind of the importance of finding meaningful connections and relationships
Yep.
throughout your career. I just wanted to ask, for maybe writers or even people in general who might not have those kinds of um, healthy or steady connections in their life, what kind of advice would you give in terms of networking and really finding those people? Um,
One genuine connection is better than a dozen false friends. Like one
mhm,
authentic relationship where the person understands what you're trying to do is
mhm,
better than going to a lot of art parties making superficial connections with people that you don't really know, who may not even like you. Like, I know that there is a level of um, movement that we used to be encouraged. And I suppose by my nature, I'm suspicious of that kind of movement because for me, everything is about um, long-standing relationships and feeling like someone authentically uh, gets me as like a person rather than a product. And I'm innately suspicious. I'll blame my grandmother for that one because she's suspicious of everyone's motives all the time. She's really like um, ground. She's pressed that into my personality. But I am adamant that like going out and making a lot of like friends is not always as helpful. First of all, you got to put a lot of time in to keep up these multiple relationships, and if they're not really something that is contributing to you as a person or to your craft, then you're wasting a lot of valuable time going around having like meaningless conversations bordering on gossip. And that's time better spent with your friends and your family or your dog or your kids or whatever, right? Like one or half a dozen really strong, meaningful connections is a much better focus, in my opinion.
Sure. For sure. Well, Megan, thank you so much for talking to me. It was definitely lots of valuable advice. Even myself, an English major, and I'm sure there's tons of people that are interested in not just professional writing, but even just pursuing non-conventional, I would say, or not the traditional ways we would think about certain career paths. So thank you for talking to me. Thank you for taking the time out of your day and giving us all that solid, great advice. Just reminding all of our viewers for our next VA professional, just keep a heads up. We'll have another guest all lined up and ready, just so we can learn how to forge our own unique career path as always. Thank you again, Megan, for talking to us. Until next time.